Alright, welcome back to Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. This time we're in Prologue 2. Yeah, there's about 4 of these, I believe? Yeah, 4 prologues. Last time, Marth fought his way out of an ambush by Gra soldiers who were supposed to be his allies and protectors. His sister Ellis informed him that Gra has turned on Altea, that their father's army has been decimated, and that the castle is about to be captured. She sent him ahead to escape and promised to join him later, so that's what we'll do. Alright, time to cut our way through this last bit of the castle and clear the way for Jagen. Though honestly, once you see him, you'll realize he doesn't need the help. The first thing I want to point out is that Marth is back at full HP, his new maximum of 19 after he leveled it last chapter. Your characters get fully healed between chapters, but everything else remains the same. Their weapons still have the same number of uses taken off, they carry over the experience points they gained, and so on. One thing I didn't mention about weapons last time is that most weapons only expend a use when they hit, so missing doesn't damage them. Anyway, still got Marth, and now we have 2 more friends. Let's check out this man and his amazing soul patch first. This is Frey, a cavalier, which is a horse-mounted unit. Cavaliers have pretty average stats across the board, but they have 2 real standout abilities. The first is their great movement thanks to being on a horse, so they can get across the map to be where they're needed much easier than most other units can. Go all the way over here, all the way down here, anywhere. We can run back, and actually no, we can't. So the second is that they can use 2 different types of weapons, which no other basic unit can do. Being able to use a variety of weapons is great because it reduces the situations where you need to fight at a disadvantage. So against this soldier, we don't have to use the sword and be at a disadvantage, we can use the lance and just be neutral. And against this axe fighter, using the lance is at a disadvantage, but we can use our sword instead, and actually be at the advantage. Frey's growths are displayed below, and are pretty average across the board. He's got great HP, good skill, speed, and luck, but shaky strength and defense. But he does start with a 7 in both, which is plenty for this early part of the game. It's important to understand that a character's potential isn't determined by their growths. The stats they start with are arguably even more important. Frey has a basic Iron Lance and a sword to use, as well as a Vulnerary. That's a healing item and restores 10 HP when used up to 3 times. The other new unit is Abel, also a cavalier. Comparing him to Frey, he starts with 1 point lower of strength, but 1 more in skill and speed, and 2 more HP. Those are very minor differences though, so they play pretty much the same. In terms of growths, Abel is again quite average across all areas, not really standing out, but not suffering terribly either in any stat. His strength growth is a little higher than Frey's, but just by 5%, not really to the point where it makes one clearly superior. In addition to an iron sword, Abel has a javelin. It's a type of lance with a special ability. It can attack both up close and from 1 space away by throwing it. When you attack with a weapon like this that's out of the enemy's range, you can hit them without taking any damage back, which is extremely helpful. If we go over the stats for the javelin, we can see that it requires a D rank to use. Let's go over weapon ranks briefly. They start at E rank at the lowest, and rise to D, C, B, and finally A at the highest. Stronger weapons generally require a higher rank to use, and getting to a higher weapon rank also slightly increases the bonuses you get when fighting at a weapon triangle advantage. Weapon ranks aren't raised through leveling up like other stats, they're built up gradually by actually using those types of weapons. So, for example, you can see underneath Marth's D rank in swords, there's a little bar. That shows his progress towards the next rank. Once it fills up, he'll get a C rank in swords. If I wanted to focus on just Abel's lance rank, which is a D, and he's got an E rank in swords, but if I wanted to focus on just lances by making him fight with lances almost all the time, he would quickly be able to use stronger lances faster, but he'd be stuck with basic swords for longer, and vice versa. Starting with a D rank is great because it actually lets him use the javelin he starts with, and Frey has the same stats, weapon ranks there, so he can actually use it too. The trade function lets you swap items between the inventories of adjacent units, so if I wanted to give something to Marth or Frey, I could do that. It's important to note that trading ends your turn, so Abel can't move or attack again if I swap any items around between him and someone else. Just opening the menu and then backing out is fine though. There's another advanced technique you can do with trading, but I've talked enough for now. Let's get to fighting. Send Frey all the way over here with his 9 points of movement. You can see that Frey actually does 1 more point of damage with the Iron Lance than the Iron Sword because it has a higher might, but the difference in weapon triangle advantage does make him less likely to hit. I'm going to go with the sword because the fighter's going to die in 1 hit anyway, so, well, 1 hit after this hit. And if there's even a small chance I can avoid Frey getting hit, I might as well take it. Like I said before, anyone who hits 0 HP and dies is dead for good. If Marth dies, it's a game over and you need to restart the chapter, but the game will continue if he's the last one standing. So, anyone can die except Marth. As part of my playstyle, I'm going to restart the chapter if anybody dies, because I want to get to the end with everybody still alive. I'll keep track of my tactical failures in the top right corner for posterity, and in the case that I have to replay a chapter, I'll cut the video to approximately where I left off before the death, so you guys don't have to watch me catch up to where I was. Moving on up. Oh, looks like we've been spotted. The enemies are smart enough to go for weapon triangle advantage when they can. Sometimes they're pretty dumb, though. And like Marth just said, archers attack from afar. What that means is bows, which are the only weapons archers can use, all have 2 range. Not 1 to 2 range, just 2 range. That means that they can attack from 1 space away, but they can't fight from up close. So if you go in and attack them first from an adjacent space, they can't do anything to hit back. It's basically the same as fighting an enemy from range who has no ranged weapon, but, you know, the opposite. Yeah, we'll give both these to Abel. Actually, wait, Abel can get up close. I didn't realize I was close enough. Can't double him, though, so we'll just use the Javelin. And since Marth leveled Strength, he can just take this guy out in 1 turn. Come on, Frey, catch up. You're lagging. One to 2 range weapons, some of the most useful things in the game. And our first level up for Abel. Let's see if his growth's, okay. Not so great. Still plenty of level ups where that came from though, so it's not the end of the world if you get a couple bad ones. Speaking of levels, come on, Marth. Ugh, great. Well, like I said, growths aren't everything. Base stats are important because you'll never get screwed over by being unlucky. Oh, come on. If I... Ugh. Alright, well, whatever. So, like I was saying, base stats will never betray you. These guys are always going to start with the exact same base stats on every playthrough. Nothing is left up to chance. Growths are left up to chance, so even when the chance is really good, like Abel has a 50% chance of leveling speed, it didn't happen this time because 50-50 chance, it's a coin flip. Frey has an 80% HP growth, but that doesn't guarantee he'll level it. 20% of the time he just won't. 8. Can Abel deal... Ugh. Okay, this should work. Could just seize with Marth, but in this case, since it's just an archer and isn't even going to be able to hit us back at close range, might as well take him out for the XP. Avoiding fights isn't generally something you want to do, unless you absolutely have to, because your characters need to grow somehow, and they're not going to get experience points by picking flowers. Let's seize this arbitrary floor tile and meet up with Jagan. Don't worry, Kane. You'll be fine. Ellis, on the other hand... Alright, looks like we're not going to meet up with Ellis anyway. She's staying behind and sending an old man in her place. Nice. Not really. See you next time.